Good evening and welcome to News Watch on Hope TV tonight, 1st of July 2020. We're coming to you live from 28 Valley Road in Nairobi City. We already have the latest stories lined up for you, and my name is Omondi. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Boniface Murithi. Let's begin with our top story. Now, the country has recorded the highest number of coronavirus cases in a single day. Today's confirmed cases stood at 307 after the government tested over 3,000 samples since Tuesday. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman, while giving the daily update, said and urged Kenyans to actively play their part to flatten the coronavirus curve, while announcing the recovery of 50 more patients. Our reporter Grace Soila begins our bulletin tonight with this story.
Today we have recorded the highest number of positive cases since the pandemic struck in our country. The highest number.
The latest cases of coronavirus in the country are from 3,591 samples tested in the last 24 hours, which is out of a total sample size of 173,355 tested so far.
Today's number consists of 289 Kenyans and 18 foreigners. 215 are males, 92 are females. The youngest is 1 year old, the oldest is 81.
Nairobi County leads with 154 cases, followed by Mombasa with 38, Machakos 33, Kiambu 20, Narok 20, Kajiado 14, and Busia 10. Other counties that have reported new cases include Kericho 4, Makueni and Nakuru 5 cases each, Kilifi, Kisumu, Kitui, and Uasin Gishu 1 case each. So far, the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the country is 6,673, with 173,355 samples having been tested so far. So far, the cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in the country is 6,673, with 173,355 samples having been tested so far. Dr. Aman appealed to everyone to take personal responsibility in the fight against the coronavirus disease, saying that the huge numbers that the country is recording can only be halted if we cooperate with the government and strictly adhering to the containment measures advised. Reporting for Hope TV News Watch, I'm Grace Soila.
And health workers' unions in the country have expressed their support towards the reopening of the economy in phases as the country continues to battle COVID-19 pandemic. They've however called on the government to prioritize the reopening of health professional training institutions. The unions in their demands want Education CS Professor George Magoha to put on hold the reopening of primary schools, secondary schools and churches until COVID-19 curve flattens. They also want more healthcare workers employed to handle the expected surge as the country heads to the peak of the outbreak. Our reporter Alice Diana tells us more.
Pressure continues to pile on President Uhuru Kenyatta to reopen the economy, even as counties rush to beat Uhuru's directive that every county should have at least a 300-bed capacity to handle COVID-19 patients. Health professionals are the latest stakeholders to ask President Uhuru Kenyatta to reopen the economy in phases, with a priority given to health training and other tertiary institutions. Addressing the press on Wednesday, health workers' unions also recommended that robust risk communication and health education be carried out across the country to make Kenyans own the containment measures.
We wish, therefore, as health professionals to recommend as follows: that we prioritize the reopening of the health professional training institution and the other tertiary level education, as they can easily observe the provided containment measure, but secondary and primary schools be put to a hold until we get to decline phase of the outbreak. The reopening of churches be put on hold until we get to the decline phase of the outbreak, because there is no hurry on this matter.
At the same time, the Kenya National Union of Nurses General Secretary Seth Panyako accused some officials in the Ministry of Health of advising the president not to reopen the economy so that they can continue looting the funds meant to help patients.
That the Ministry of Health and those charged with managing COVID fund that is being put together by government and other stakeholders, including WHO, World Bank, and other fellows. You heard in the airport, they stole PPEs that had been contributed by Chuck Mo and the other guy from China. We will not sit back and watch some criminals sitting somewhere in Afi House scavenging on the money that is meant to protect this country from COVID-19.
The unions, which comprised Kenya National Union of Nurses, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Kenya Health Professionals Society, Kenya National Union of Medical Laboratory Officers, Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technicians, and Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dentitions, also raised concerns that the government is giving too much attention to COVID-19 and forgetting about those living with chronic health conditions and diseases, infants and expectant women who benefit from special programs and clinics.
That the government must consider to avail medication for free in all facilities, including private facility, to protect this vulnerable group. That the government must also ensure that medical, parenteral, and enteral nutrition be zero rated and added to essential medicine and medical supplies. And we also wish that the government will still consider relief, tax relief, to be extended for the period of the outbreak, because still there is no way we have been able to get more maybe income or other employment during this time.
The health professionals and practitioners representatives are calling on the government to reconsider the recommendations in the reopening of the economy so as to protect the common mwananchi and health workers against the effects of COVID-19. For Hope TV News Watch in Nairobi, I'm Alice Diana.
Meanwhile, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha said that the COVID-19 situation will guide the reopening of schools countrywide as the toll continues to rise. Speaking during a consultative forum with stakeholders in the education sector, including Kupet, Wasu, Nat and Kilwater, Magoha said the ministry is intensively deliberating on schools reopening and will employ safety precautions during reopening. The ministry had earlier said schools will reopen in September, but questions have continued to emerge over the possibility of reopening schools in September, noting that the Health Ministry announced the peak of the virus to occur around the same time. Grace Ongoi reports.
The Ministry of Education continues to be under great pressure regarding the resumption of schools in September. The ministry has in recent weeks been involved in consultative meetings with stakeholders in the education sector. Although unable to make proclamation of the outcome of Wednesday's meeting with education unions, Magoha has maintained his stance on the reopening of schools with hiking COVID-19 cases, saying that the date may be pushed to January when the curve is likely to flatten.
We have also been reliably informed this morning by the doctors that the peak is likely to come in September, and by the grace of God, perhaps taper down around January.
In light of this, Magoha on Monday maintained that TVET institutions are in a better position to reopen as they will be able to operate in shifts.
The elephant in the room, of course, is social and physical distancing, which should be easy for you because the way you are organized, you can bring the people in batches. We have already suggested to you to bring the examination classes in batches.
The government's promise of 100% transition from primary to secondary schools was met with a lot of opposition. Many Kenyans lamented their biggest worry to be inadequate infrastructure, personnel, and teachers. Whereas this presented a major concern pre-COVID-19 when many were ignorant of terms like social and physical distancing, one can imagine what that means now as the Ministry of Health is calling for 1 to 1.5 meters social distance between individuals. Magoha, while acknowledging that schools are congested, affirmed that they are operating under the guidance of the Ministry of Health to ensure they keep learners and teachers safe.
Therefore, the children are at school and the schools are a bit congested. And that whatever is going to determine whether we open or not would depend on whether social distancing can be achieved in school.
NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion, speaking to the press in recent weeks, urged the Teacher Service Commission to embark on recruitment of teachers, saying that it will be better if infrastructure development in schools is stalled to allow for recruitment of teachers. According to him, teachers will be trained if schools reopen at this time. Grace Wangoi for TV Newswatch.
Away from that, the judiciary has launched electronic filing of documents in the Nairobi courts in a bid to facilitate efficient service delivery. This now means the courts will increasingly use ICT platforms to conduct hearings and deliver judgments and rulings. This new program will be followed by court recordings and transcription systems. The move is in conformity with the need to limit gatherings within the precincts of the courts during the time that the country is battling the coronavirus pandemic. Making his address during the launch, Chief Justice David Maraga called on the government to pump in more funds for the success of the justice system in the country. Joseph Maingi tells us more.
Under the new electronic system, all lawyers, police, Director of Public Prosecution and members of the public are required to register themselves through a portal to log into the judiciary system. After logging in, one is expected to upload the documents and also assess the court fees. Subsequently, one has to submit their files to the registrar online for the matters to be filed and placed before a judge for hearing. Besides filing, the system will also allow litigants to assess costs, pay and serve court papers in defendants electronically. Speaking during the launch of the system, Chief Justice David Maraga has said digitization of the judiciary services marks the single most important step in harnessing technology as an integral part in dispersing the judicial services to Kenyans.
From the onset, increased use of ICT has been identified as a key plank in our efforts to transform the judiciary into a modern, progressive institution that is succinctly responsive to the needs of the people we serve.
Maraga says that the challenges of files being lost has been due to collusion of some members of the staff with outsiders to frustrate the dispensation of cases and promised that a lasting solution would be found amicably.
Some of them happen to be even exhibits, which, if parties had not kept any records, it becomes extremely difficult to end a matter. So with that, and even some proceedings or court records not having all the documents, as a result, we have had quite a number of challenges. But with the digitization, that problem will be overcome.
Meanwhile, Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Harvey, who spoke at the event, has called on the executive to ensure that the judiciary is adequately funded for the benefit of Kenyans who are in search of justice. Harvey has recommended the formation of a legal framework that will protect the e-registry from being misused, while pointing out on instances when judges have come under attack on social media. The LSK president has further requested that a bill be put in place to develop a proper framework for e-filing. The Chief Justice, who is also the President of the Supreme Court, has acknowledged the challenge of poor internet connectivity and urged judges and litigants to try and get good internet connectivity to ensure that services are rendered to Kenyans without being hampered.
You find one litigant at one end of the country with poor internet connectivity is unable to be heard. Or when he starts, he's breaking and the proceedings can't go on. That's why, as you said, you take so many minutes asking, my Lord, can you hear me? My Lord, can you see me?
On his part, the Director of Public Prosecution, Nordin Haji, says that his department has also come up with a case management and document tracking system to facilitate effective and efficient delivery of prosecution services. Haji has hailed the achievement of the judiciary, noting that there is need streaming proceedings and allowing members of public to follow them.
The process will save the time as court users will file their pleadings online as opposed to physically going to court premises. The benefits of e-filing cannot be overemphasized. It will lead to reduced chances of corruption, hopefully, and other related man-made challenges to the justice system.
The Kenyan court system has undergone a huge change in how they've been performing their duties this year, and especially from when the country reported the first COVID-19 case. This year, the judiciary has implemented the use of emails and video chats to deliver pending judgments and rulings due to COVID-19. Today's announcement on the e-filing system is a great milestone in the judicial system, with many Kenyans hoping that justice will be served fast and efficient. For Hope TV News Watch, I'm Joseph Maingi.
And Kenyans can now breathe a sigh of relief after President Uhuru Kenyatta signed into law the 2020 finance bill, pushing down the prices of key household commodities to cushion Kenyans from the brunt of COVID-19. Prices of items such as maize flour and cooking gas will now be affordable, driving away fear that Kenyans had when Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani read the 2020-21 financial year budget. Our current affairs reporter Dickens Luvanda gives us a clearer picture on the bill.
Life has been tough and challenging for the majority of Kenyans if the survey on socio-economic impact of COVID-19 on households report, released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in May this year, is anything to go by. Rent payment, search for food, and sources of income for many households has been a nightmare, with several companies laying off employees due to the tough economic times brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. However, things could look a bit better after President Uhuru Kenyatta moved quickly to salvage starving Kenyans from exorbitant food prices that will be brought by the 3.2 trillion shillings 2020-2021 financial year budget that was presented in Parliament by Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani on June 11th. In the budget, the Treasury sought to hike prices of cooking gas, maize flour, wheat flour and other necessities so as to raise more money to fund the expanded budget. On Tuesday at the State House, Nairobi, President Uhuru Kenyatta signed into law the 2020-2021 budget, the 2020 finance bill, and the 2019-2020 third supplementary budget, breathing relief to the already stressed Wanjiku. The finance bill, which is now law, has several amendments targeted at cushioning Kenyans from the adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the amendments in the Finance Act include the zero rating of VAT on maize, cassava and wheat flour for 6 months so as to make unga affordable. The new Finance Act also extends the zero rating of VAT on cooking gas for 1 year.
A 100% tax relief.
The tax cuts seek to cushion the economy from the COVID-19 shocks, such as cuts on the value-added tax rate to 14% from 16% and the corporation tax from 30% to 25%. With all these government tax cuts and the tougher economic times, Kenyans can only hope for the better as they continue to fight this coronavirus pandemic. Dickens Luvanda, Hope TV News Watch in Nairobi County.
That story from Dickens Luvanda takes us to a short commercial break on News Watch. We'll be back with more. Stay with Hope TV.
Top imerudi tena na ina ladha tamu wa kuchangamsha wa ladha ya machungwa, tropical, apple, maembe na strawberry banana. Kaa salama na ufurahie ladha ya kipekee ya Top na familia yako. Top, you can't beat this taste.
That is the sound of a cool breeze. The sign of a new day. The sun is rising beautifully from the far east. The sky is getting bright and the birds are singing beautifully. It is a new day at Victory Gardens Kitengela by Optivan. Be part of this community. Victory Gardens is only 10 minutes drive from Kitengela town. Invest in value. Call us today on 0702 8310 83 or visit www.optivan.co.ke. Optivan, celebrating 20 years of serving you. Experience the difference.
Only God can turn a mess into a message.
I have a boy on a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I'm still preaching on the pulpit.
Amen.
Niliona mguu ya nyuma inakuja tu kunikanyaga, imenilenga tu kwa tumbo. Nikaitana tu Jesus.
I got tired of working with the x-ray papers and one day I just woke up and decided to burn them.
A test into a testimony.
The whole community didn't want to hear that anybody is born again. Excommunicated straight.
Bila Yesu hakuna njia.
Join Sharon Naitore Wangenye on Testify.
Katika hiyo harakati hiyo spirit ikakemewa, mimi nimeona Yesu Kristo namna hii. Kwa msalaba. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
every Thursday at 8 p.m. for a moment to grow your faith some more.
Welcome back. You're watching Hope TV News Watch. Anglican Church of Kenya ICT Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit has called on men in the country to know their HIV status, even as the government continues to combat the spread of coronavirus. Ole Sapit says men are the heads of households, hence the need for them to protect themselves and their families from various illnesses, including HIV, which at one time was a pandemic in the country. The ICT Archbishop addressed the press at his residence in Nairobi, where he also called for peace and cohesion among Kenyans.
You only need to live carefully and follow the guidelines given by the Ministry of Health. I also want to draw your attention to another pandemic that has been with us for quite some time now, HIV and AIDS. Although we have made tremendous strides towards the fight against HIV and AIDS, current trends show that we must step up because new infections are on the rise. The Bible teaches us that men are the head of their families and they provide guidance to their spouses and their children. To achieve this, I appeal to you, therefore, to fight towards HIV, prevention of HIV and AIDS. It is God intended that we all stay together in peace and in harmony to build each other and celebrate each other and prosper each other. For one philosopher, African philosopher, Mbidi says, we are because I am, and therefore I am because we are. And together we can thrive and become. And therefore we want to urge all of us to remain in peace and in cohesion in Kenya. We know we have been dividing ourselves along political lines, which many occasions take tribal angles, and any political hating temperatures, such as what we see now and we have seen in the past, divide us according to tribes and regions.
In other news now, ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Mucheru has encouraged young people to develop innovative ideas that will help them shape their future through financial empowerment. The CSO was the chief guest during the launch of the National Youth Service Strategic Plan 2019-2023, called on the youth to develop market-friendly innovations, reiterating government's commitment in supporting such initiatives. He called on the young generation to take advantage of the COVID-19 situation to reposition themselves virtually with ideas that are easily marketable.
It is with great humility that I participate on this great occasion, which is the launch of the NYS Strategic Plan 2019 to 2023, and also unveiling the innovation projects. This is the NYS handcut. It takes great courage to be able to innovate, to take this kind of big steps in ensuring that you're going into an area that others have not been in before. And so I want to laud those that have the entrepreneurial and spirit, the innovative mind, and in ways that they are looking at how they can then commercialize these solutions that they're coming up with.
Preparation of the strategic plan is 10% of the whole task. Implementation of it is 90%. So I'm happy here that you have involved us in the journey of 10%, and as you move on, we'll be keen to hold you accountable. Where are you and what difference has it made in the first year, second year, third year of the implementation of the strategic plan?
The county government of Nakuru has received a major boost in its fight against the spread of COVID-19. The devolved unit on Tuesday received 15 1,000-litre tanks, 15 cartons of bar soaps and 400 primary school textbooks from ChildFund, a humanitarian non-governmental organization. ChildFund Program Coordinator for Central Rift Development, Alfred Kiptanui, said the organization was working with the county government to strengthen hygiene systems and also for sustainability, as the tanks will be used to extend services after the COVID-19 crisis is contained. He said the books will enable people from low-income settlements that could not access digital platforms to continue with their learning. Kiptanui observed that adequate provision of safe water and sanitation material is essential in safeguarding human health and reducing exposure to the COVID-19 disease.
With these water tanks, we know our county. We are going to divide these towns. We have 11 sub-counties, and each sub-county will have a tank. And the other 4, we look at some counties who are more in need, and then we can give them 1 additional water tank. And it will be used in areas where it's mostly the facilities. Yeah.
We also thought it was important to keep our children at home engaged. So we are going to give, we have given out 400 books, storybooks and crayons, which is going to benefit 400 children so that they get engaged at home, they're able to learn. Because most of these families here, they don't have the capacity to have the digital learning platforms. So we're trying to help with them to be engaged during this time of pandemic because they're not attending school.
The World Health Organization WHO is marking 6 months since the organization received first reports of coronavirus, which originated in Wuhan, China. The 6th-month anniversary of the outbreak coincides with reaching 10 million cases and 500,000 deaths globally, even as countries rush to contain the spread of the virus. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom says the virus is still speeding up as he advised countries battling the virus to continue focusing on contact tracing, which he says is the first step towards eliminating COVID-19. WHO says countries needed a greater stores of resilience, patience, humility, and generosity in the months ahead.
Tomorrow marks 6 months since WHO received the first reports of a cluster of cases of pneumonia of unknown cause in China. The 6-month anniversary of the outbreak coincides with reaching 10 million cases and 500,000 deaths. This is a moment for all of us to reflect on the progress we have made and the lessons we have learned, and to recommit ourselves to doing everything we can to save lives. 6 months ago, none of us could have imagined how our world and our lives would be thrown into turmoil by this new virus. The pandemic has brought out the best and the worst of humanity. Excuse for contact tracing. If any country is saying contact tracing is difficult, it is a lame excuse.
Whether we're looking at people who are working on infection prevention and control to prevent transmission in healthcare settings, looking at epidemiology and modeling, understanding transmission and where transmission is happening, how transmission is happening, and how that affects our guidance and our advice.
Now, from that, we want to go back to Nakuru County, and Nakuru is one of the 21 counties that have benefited from the Ministry of Agriculture's National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project that has been allocated 22.6 billion shillings. Over 500 youths and women from Sachangwan can now have a reason to smile as the project has impacted them with livestock farming knowledge and has also seen many of them begin rearing goats for milk, which is getting demand among locals. Our reporter Mark Kibondo tells us the story of the Saki youth group.
In the underbelly of the sleepy and chilly Sachangwan location, within Molo sub-county, 12 youthful women are sweating it out on some tiny farm feeding dairy goats. The members of Saki Youth Group are beneficiaries of the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries National Agriculture and Rural Inclusive Growth Project that seeks to improve the livelihoods of women and youth groups in the rural parts of Nakuru County.
Kwa hii mradi ya NARIC tuliingia wakati tulikuwa tunapata mafunzo kupitia kwa Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries. Wakatuambia kuna mradi inakuja, tukaandika proposal, tukaqualify kupata 1,100 wakatunulia mbuzi na hao mbuzi tulihitaji wakuwe mbuzi wa maziwa.
Goat milk production is a good source of income and an avenue to improve rural areas' economy, as consumer acceptance of goat milk and its products is growing, with a liter retailing at 140 shillings. Saki is one of the 20 youth groups in Molo sub-county with a total membership of over 500 people that have received funding for the rearing of high-yielding Kenya alpine dairy goats.
Mbuzi wenye tulinunuliwa ni wale wa hali ya juu, tunawaita kwa kizungu pedigree goats, dairy goats. Walitunulia mbuzi wenye ni wajawazito, tunaendelea kulisha pamoja.
Ukiangalia area hii ya Sachang'wan, tuko na potential ya dairy goat sababu climate wise mbuzi wa maziwa wanafanya vizuri sana katika area hii, sababu climate ya hapa sio ile baridi, na kama tunavyojua mbuzi wanahitaji pahali climate iko a bit warm.
The youth group kicked off its operations early this year after procuring superior Kenya alpine dairy goat genetic material from Nyeri and Murang'a counties. The genetic material that most dairy goat farmers are using today was imported from South Africa in the 1970s. Farmers are using the same bucks of breeding, and this has resulted in inbreeding, low production and stunted growth in animals.
Upande wa dairy production, matumaini yetu kwa upande wa mbuzi, tulitaka kuinua ikikudi sababu tuko na shida ya kupata breeding stock katika area hii yetu ya Moro. Sasa tukaonelea tukishika hiki kikundi tuwa promote kabisa wakuwe breeders, waingie ile kiwango ya kufanya breeding, watakuwa wamesaidia community ya Moro sana.
The program has equipped the youth group with knowledge of different goat breeds, feeding, pest prevention and cure of most probable disease and housing. Other goat breeds kept in Kenya are Toggenbad, Obahasi, Gala, small East African goat, and Boer. Most farmers keep alpines and Toggenbag mainly for milk. The group has opted for zero grazing systems as it limits the dairy goats' exposure to parasites and infectious diseases as compared to those in free range. However, poor ventilation in zero grazing units may cause respiratory diseases, resulting in the death of goats. National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project is also working on a strategy that targets to have dairy cooperatives in the county come together to form a union and facilitate installation of a dairy processing plant and a feed manufacturing units. It is envisioned that the union will support farmers to access quality feeds and artificial insemination services, as well as appropriate finance to support the transition to commercial dairy farming. Mark Kimondo for Hope TV.
Thank you, Mark Kimondo, for that report. Let's now take another short break on News Watch. When we come back, we'll be looking at business news. Keep it Hope TV.
Welcome to Activate.
It's a good morning. Good morning.
Kickstart your day with George and Kerry on the Sweet Hour of Prayer.
And welcome to Activate, this being the station where you listen and live Hope FM.
From Nairobi to the world.
Great music just for you.
Activate.
The only show that keeps you activated.
Yes, indeed.
Activate every weekday morning from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. only on Hope FM, where you listen and live.
Wake up every morning
I shall arise
with refreshing worship playlists.
So come we're ready for your presence. Till there's only you, Jesus. You are. Amen. Hallelujah.
And powerful nuggets of God's word.
His mercies begin afresh each morning.
We had press from every side, but we are not crushed. Right place. We desire to be in the sweet space.
The place of praising, the place of singing lips.
only on Hope Devotion.
Welcome back to Newswatch. Now, Kenya has been awarded the World Travel and Tourism Council WTTC Safe Travel Stamp. This is in recognition of the destination's adoption of the Global Health and Hygiene Standardized Protocols, dubbed Safe Travels. The announcement was made by the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife, Najib Balala, during the unveiling of the Magical Kenya Travel and Tourism Health and Safety Guidelines and Protocols. This recognition is timely as Kenya prepares to reopen the tourism and hospitality industry after months of closure. To meet this recognition, Kenya sent the protocols drafted by the National Tourism and Hospitality Protocols Task Force to the World Travel and Tourism Council and the World Tourism Organization for validation. This is in line with the global reopening of tourism and travel protocol.
Today we are launching the health and safety protocols for the tourism and travel industry. We have thoroughly gone through in partnership with the private sector to formulate these protocols. They have been approved by the Ministry of Health of Kenya. They've been approved by the World Tourism and Travel Council and the UNWTO. Today, we can say Kenya is safe and the magic awaits you.
The COVID-19 Fund and Equity Group Foundation have delivered a consignment of personal protective equipment to the Kenyatta National Hospital to boost the fight against coronavirus. Led by the fund chair, Jen Karuku, and Equity Bank CEO, Dr. James Mwangi, the team lauded all healthcare workers who are leading the COVID-19 fight from the front line for their selfless service to Kenyans. KNH Board Chairman George Oko appreciated the generous donation, noting that the safety of frontline healthcare workers is key in the fight against the pandemic.
We should be able to support the 50,000 medics in this country with a social psycho support or wellness system for 1 year at a cost of 85 million shillings. Essentially, then by partnering the foundation with COVID Fund, and I guess the chair will elaborate this, we are confident we'll be able to support the frontline medical staff dealing with COVID patients for a period of 18 months with PPEs. The 2 months that we have been given has enabled us now to produce high quality PPEs that meet international standards within the country. So we are now not just in control of quality, but we are in control of the supply chain. We can make an order knowing they will be produced tomorrow.
We also made a commitment as a board. We need to buy Kenya and build Kenya. That journey has been very empowering. It's been tough, but it's been very empowering.
Okay, with that story, we've come to a close on Newswatch. Many thanks for staying with us. My name is Tony Omondi, and our sign language interpreter has been Boniface Murithi. Have a good night.